You know, the psychologist Carl Jung had this incredible insight, and it's something that should honestly terrify every manipulator out there. And it's this. A fed-up empath is way more formidable than a narcissist, not because they get mean, but because they become completely and totally unbreakable.
And this quote from Jung really sets the stage perfectly, doesn't it? This whole journey isn't about pretending everything's fine or forcing positivity. Nope. It's about having the guts to look at the parts of ourselves we've been told to hide. That's where the real power is hiding. So, this really gets to the heart of the matter. What actually happens when the person who's always absorbing everyone else's negativity finally says, "That's it, I'm done"? It's not just a momentary snap. We're talking about a deep, fundamental psychological shift.
To really get this transformation, we have to start at the beginning. We need to explore the world of the empath before this psychological earthquake hits and figure out what pushes them to that edge.
Jung had this perfect term for it, the wounded healer. These are the people who basically become walking sponges for everyone else's unprocessed anger, their grief, their drama. They end up carrying all these burdens that were never theirs in the first place.
And here's the thing, society almost always gets this wrong. It looks at that gentleness and labels it as weakness. But Jung, he saw it completely differently. He knew it was a massive strength, just waiting in disguise for that breaking point to finally activate it.
So how does this sudden flip happen? Well, there's a psychological mechanism for it. A core Jungian idea called Enantiodromia. It's a bit of a mouthful, but the concept is simple. If you push anything to its absolute limit, it will eventually turn into its opposite. It's almost like a law of psychological physics. Now, this massive transformation isn't about becoming a whole new person. It's actually about finally bringing in the parts of yourself that you were taught were bad or unacceptable. This is what Jung called integrating the shadow. For an empath, the shadow isn't some evil monster lurking in the dark. It's the source of their power. It's all that righteous anger they've had to swallow, the healthy self-care they've been told is selfish, and that powerful, unapologetic no that they were never allowed to say. Jung saw this whole thing as a kind of mental alchemy. When you consciously pull these shadow parts into the light, you're literally turning years of absorbed poison into psychological gold. That buried anger isn't just rage anymore. It's a tool for justice. And your boundaries, they're not cold. They're an act of deep wisdom.
This big internal shift doesn't have to be a chaotic breakdown. It's actually a pretty structured journey. And thanks to Jung's work, we have a clear map with 3 key stages to get to what he called personal sovereignty. Okay, first up is recognition. This is the big aha moment, when the veil is lifted and you finally see the manipulative games for what they are. Then you move into integration. This is where you turn your sensitivity from a weakness into a superpower. And finally, you arrive at sovereignty. This is when you stop needing anyone else's approval to know your own value.
I mean, the change is just profound. You go from being an emotional sponge, just soaking up all the toxic stuff around you, to becoming a mirror that reflects the truth right back at the source. You stop just reacting to things, and you start intentionally choosing your responses.
So, what does all this new power actually look like in the real world? Well, surprisingly, it's often more about what you stop doing than what you start.
Think about these common situations, right? That predator at work. You no longer soak up their tension. You become immune to it. The family member who loves stirring the pot, you just stop playing the drama game. That romantic partner who just drains you dry, you withdraw the supply they're feeding on. In every single one of these cases, the toxic dynamic just collapses because you took away your part in it. And that right there is the key insight. Your greatest power isn't about fighting back harder. It's about refusing to play the game at all. It's a kind of psychological nonviolence that is way more devastating to a manipulator than any argument could ever be. Okay, so this is all great, but how do you actually apply it to your own life? Let's pull this out of the world of theory and look at a practical framework for your own journey.
You can probably see yourself somewhere on this timeline. At level 1, you're the sponge, totally controlled by your empathy. At level 2, you're waking up, starting to see the patterns, and setting some boundaries. But level 3, that's the goal, the Sovereign Empath. Here, you've integrated your shadow, and your empathy is no longer a burden. It's a tool for wisdom.
And here's how you do it. Step 1. Recognize the pattern. Write it down. Make the unconscious conscious. Step 2. Integrate your shadow. That means reclaiming your anger and your right to say no in healthy ways. 3. Stop the energy leaks. Stop explaining yourself to people who are committed to misunderstanding you. And finally, embody your power by choosing how you respond in every situation.
Because at the end of the day, this whole process, it's not about learning how to control other people. It's about getting complete and total sovereignty over yourself, your energy, your emotions, your choices.
Now on this journey, you're going to come to a fork in the road. And the first urge you might feel is revenge. You want to make them feel what you felt, but that's a trap. Jung would warn that it just keeps you stuck in that old toxic cycle. The real goal, the higher path, is empathetic wisdom. That's when you rise above the game entirely.
Really, this whole thing just comes down to this one beautiful quote from Jung. The point isn't to become a weapon. It's to become authentically yourself by integrating all your parts, the light, the dark, the gentle, and the fierce.
So, if you remember nothing else, remember this. That deep sensitivity that you were maybe told was a flaw, it was never a weakness. It was a highly advanced, early warning system trying to tell you when something was toxic. You just had to learn how to read the manual.
And all of that leaves us with one last powerful question. An unconscious empath is dangerous, but only to themselves. An awakened empath, though, they are dangerous to every manipulative system they meet. So the only question left is, which one are you going to choose to be?